Hello, Jack, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing quite fine, my man, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate you. And you see, Jack, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Jack, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest that in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, Jack, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves are all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, just recently, Jack, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately, I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did. And it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. Not just mangoes now, Jack. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. Here was my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Jack that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your impact, the impact your work is having, your philosophies, your insight, and how you're offering your solutions and your journey. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, my man, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from this beautiful things Jack is doing, and not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Jack. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Thank you.
Awesome, my man. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons, Jack. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Jack, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Jack on the show is for the sake of the audience. See, Jack, my man, majority of we've got a lot of information flying out there, you see, and these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Jack, my man, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Jack, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Jack got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jack, my man, over to you.
You did cut out there for a second, but I think I got most of it. Uh, I'm Jack McMahon. I'm a father from Ohio. I have one daughter who's 9 years old, and my wife. We live together and we're enjoying our lives as much as we can. I'm also the author of Atrophy and Asymptotes.
Mm,
It's backwards on the screen right now. Uh, my reason for starting to write the book was I was having in 2020 the death of my brother and COVID combined. I was having a really hard time getting over that. So you could say I was kind of like the first time you passed the mango tree was me in 2020. Kind of due to my own struggles that I was having during that time kind of broke away from my family, and I have continued to do so since. Not my immediate family, but my siblings and parents. Normally, throughout my life, I had kind of been the type to say forgive and forget and try to get people to come together. And then after that time, I was kind of hardened my heart a lot and isolated myself from them. And that isolation from my family kind of caused me to think, could this ever happen to my relationship with my daughter, even though it's good now? She's 9, so there's not really much struggle there between our relationship. That kind of got me thinking, though, of not wanting her to ever be in a position that I'm in now with my family. I'm not wanting to, not feeling comfortable contacting them, not feeling comfortable getting over any past problems we've had. So I wanted to write this book as kind of like a non-financial life insurance policy, so she could always have lessons if our relationship ever did become strained or anything, if she ever found herself in the same situation I was in 2020. So that's kind of where I began the idea for the book, to try to both think through why I was hardening myself and isolating myself, and also to ensure she could learn from the lessons and mistakes that I've made as kind of a legacy of lessons for her.
Hmm. What a awesome father you are. Because one thing I notice
Thank
about
you.
good fathers is they always try as much as possible not to allow their children to make the mistakes they did or fall on the same path that they fell into. And that's a wonderful one. I'm so sorry about the loss of your brother. So, how do you
Thank you.
define, yeah, my man, how do you define fatherhood versus citizenship?
So yeah, that's one of the major themes that I was going through. A lot of the struggles I was having and still have to this day are kind of, I consider the duties of each of those to be sometimes overlapping and sometimes at odds with each other. And uh, so my struggle is kind of in between. Am I just supposed to provide security and peace and all the financial necessities to have my daughter be able to make it to adulthood? Or am I supposed to create a world, doing those will prepare her for a world that's not perfect. But then on the other hand, I also have like the duties of a citizen, which are to improve the world that she will inherit from me, which, as compared to security, peace, and financial security, it would be more things along the lines of like freedom, justice, principles, more abstract, rather than the pragmatic. So I think of it as, the fatherhood duties are the pragmatic ones, and the citizenship duties are the more abstract. But sometimes they're going to have to overlap because, like, am I actually fulfilling my duties as a father if I'm not leading her into a world where she knows nothing about those abstract values?
Mm-hmm. I got that. So what about this one? Let's talk about America. What is authoritarian drift in America?
So just essentially, that's kind of one of the major themes as well. I think we have like a system set up where we're constantly compromising our values, and all of those duties of the citizenship uh, kind of fall to the wayside of the duties that we have as parents, and our duties even just to ourselves if we're not parents. Uh, we have to survive. The pragmatism says it, so we have to sometimes um, compromise on the values that we would like to hold ourselves up to. And because of that, over time, one generation, let's say they have 100 values that they think the perfect country or the perfect community should be built on. But due to pragmatism, they will then sacrifice one of those and say, okay, well, we can sacrifice one of our 100 values. And then the next generation has 90, they inherit 99 values and they compromise one away. And so over time, our system's kind of built to slowly go down to zero. So I call it the asymptote to authoritarianism, because we're slowly giving away the things that we use to reject that.
Wow. And that's so sad, my man. So how should we respond to injustice? Is it rage or reason?
So the way I look at it, obviously, like the easy answer is rage isn't how you should act in response. But I do think that there's a purpose to rage and emotions in general. Any of the negative emotions you should use as just in the first step of identifying a problem or identifying an opportunity. So if there is something that makes us as a community angry or sad, then it's like, okay, this could be a potential problem. This is making everybody's emotions run high. Or on the other hand, if there's something that everybody in the community is celebrating, okay, that's a chance for an opportunity. You've identified the opportunity. The important part, though, in my opinion, is after you've used your emotions, rage is the one I go into the most in the book. After you've done that, you have to take the logical steps and kind of switch from like the animalistic to the robotic and use logic and reason rather than the rage. So one of them is good for identifying the problems and one's good for solving them.
Wow. And that's very insightful. And you answer that question in such a way that it's quite easy to understand. What a great guy Jack is. I love that. Okay, what about this one? What is blue collar foreign policy?
I look at it as the foreign policy kind of that a blue collar worker would have. Like the blue collar worker is focused on more pragmatic, the fatherhood side of things, and how am I going to get by? How am I going to survive? I don't care if our country's, well, not that they don't care. I think it's a more protectionist rather than empire type foreign policy. They don't want to go invade another country. They want food on the table. They don't want to interfere in somebody else's war. They want their kid to get good grades this year.
I got that. Okay,
that is, of course, my opinion. Obviously, there's when it comes to like some more serious things, foreign policy wise, there's obviously the citizenship principles will be required. They can overcome the more pragmatic, I'm just worried about myself feeling of a blue collar worker when the foreign policy is egregious enough.
Got it. Okay, let's return back to your book. All right. So, which chapter in your book is the most uncomfortable for readers?
So throughout the book, I use a lot of vivid imagery and metaphors. So I do have a chapter on abortion, and whether you're whatever side you're on, the imagery I use in it to kind of show my point is probably going to be uncomfortable for whoever's reading it, and whatever your opinion is on either side of the subject. The point of that, though, being for each of these kind of debated topics of our time, I try to take the position to their most extreme conclusion. And so, on one side you have an authoritarian government saying you shouldn't be able to do, we are going to decide all your medical decisions. And on the other side, you have a community that has no respect for life. So there's imagery to show both of those within the book. So the book is intentionally kind of going for shock value to get people out of their comfort zone and make them realize that a lot of these topics that we're dealing with today are dangerous if they continue in the same direction.
Hmm. A lot of the topics are dangerous if they continue in the same direction. Wow, I got that. I got that. So we have two more questions to go, my man. All right. So back to America. All right. So what truth do Americans avoid facing?
This is kind of one I had been discussing even before my troubles in 2020. It's kind of that uh, people tend to replace convenience with anything else. Like there's no line in the sand um, and principle that people have that they won't eventually cross uh, for for convenience. Um, that's also like the pragmatic version and the pragmatic take. When it comes down to it, if some entity more powerful than you says, "I'm going to do this thing," the only way to stop them is, some drastic action, and it will endanger your family. People are going to say, "Well, that's really inconvenient, so I'm just going to redraw my line in the sand to a little bit further and a little bit further." And so I know that's like kind of sounds hopeless. And the book is about kind of rejecting that hopelessness and kind of a call to action to draw those lines in the sand. Think about what your beliefs are. I can guarantee that everybody's beliefs will not be the same as mine that I say in the book. But you should have, some principles and some beliefs that they're going to be different than mine. But draw those lines in the sand, and then when a government or some institution in your life crosses them, be willing to stand up and say, "This is not okay," and you can pass on that legacy of value and respect that you've been passed down to the next generation.
I got that. So to bring this to an end, Jack, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even make a purchase of your book, or ask you questions, how can that be possible?
Sorry, could you repeat that for a sec? I think one of these is going out.
Okay. I said, so for folks who like to reach out to you, or make a purchase of your book, or ask you questions, how can that be possible? And any final thought to round up with?
Okay. Yeah, I'll start with the book. The website is J.E. McMahon, which is McMahon. It can also be found on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or any of the major online retailers. It's cheaper though if you go to J.E. McMahon and then go to the buy now. There's one of the buttons says discount. You get $2 off. But I guess the ending message I have is the one in the book, Atrophy and Asymptotes. It's that, despite my entire book, like the essays I write to the public in the book all seem very hopeless, and then I follow them up with letters to my daughter to be read when she's an adult, and that's a kind of despite the explanation of how I see the world and a cynical view and the hardening of my heart that I've had in the last 4 or 5 years, that there's always a hope. And it kind of like, if you know what an asymptote is, it's like the graph that goes like this, and it approaches zero without ever touching. And that's kind of the last message I have. That's how I look at hope. It never actually touches zero. It's never completely hopeless. So as close as you get to that, infinite hopelessness, it's never actually hopeless. So you should hold on to hope as long as you can and as much as you can.
Powerful words. I got that. That's a beautiful one. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.